Welcome to Tell to Trevor. I am your host, Trevor Shelley, and today on my podcast I have.
The grown ass man, Daniel Lacey.
So, what sparked your interest in the professional wrestling industry?
Pretty much how it did with most people, just scrolling on the TV as a young kid, finding it and just being enthralled by it. And I would say I was a fan just watching on TV for about, I'd say maybe just like 2 years. And then, like, I don't know, at that 2 year point, I just saw something and I was like, yep, that's what I want to do.
Yeah. Who were your wrestling mentors growing up?
You mean like mentors or inspirations?
Inspiration.
So I can't really narrow it down to like
Yeah.
any one person just because like my interests have like evolved over time. Like of course when I first started watching, Cena was the top guy, so of course I was a little C Nation kid, and then like through watching more TV, I saw John
Yeah.
Morrison. I fell in love with John Morrison, and then I discovered TNA, so I fell in love with TNA. AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy, Kurt Angle when they were there, Bobby Roode, and all that. And then I discovered the Indies like Ring of Honor, so I discovered Adam Cole, Jay Lethal, and then through that Japan and all the people over there. So it wasn't really like one specific person. It was definitely a bunch of people that I just gravitated to over time.
Yeah. Like for me, I will say mine was Jeff Hardy, AJ Styles, the guy named Suicide from TNA,
Oh, I love
Alex
Suicide, of course.
Shelley, Chris Sabin, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Adam Cole.
Yeah.
Currently been watching a lot of indies wrestling. That's a reason why this podcast is growing so much because
Yeah.
I will go
Yeah.
get recommended shows and then I'm like, okay, cool, I love this guy's match. Let me see if I can get him on the show.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool that you do that. Which match? Do you mind if I ask which match of mine that you may have watched that you like wanted to come over and hit me up?
Let's see, because I remember saving it on my phone because that's how I usually keep track of everybody's. It was you versus the cheese.
Yeah, the cheese, the freaking cheese.
I was like, that's an interesting name because I've heard of the cheeseburger wrestler,
Mhm. Right.
but that's just me
Yeah,
from the
cheese.
Carolinas.
Yeah, cheese is very popular down here in Florida. He's like pretty much anywhere in the state that you say his name, people will know of him or they've seen something of cheese. So it was an honor, or it's fun to work with cheese a lot. We've worked together a couple, very few times. Each time it's been nice.
How did you get your start in the wrestling world?
So once again, like most people that wanted to get in the industry, just look on Google, type it in, wrestling schools around me, settled on Devon Dudley's Academy, and just from there, in um, growing in ability, growing in everything encompassing the business. And I've always thought that, and Devon thinks the same thing, that like you should be trained by somebody that has been somewhere, because there's a bunch of schools all around the country that are just run, and the trainers, named Joe Indy. He's wrestled in 5 states around his area, and that didn't really did much. But Devon Dudley, Hall of Fame two-time Hall of Fame tag team wrestler in TNA and WWE. So his wealth of knowledge is invaluable, and I think
Yeah.
that's what drew me to the school, and that's definitely what I learned from going to that school, was tons of invaluable knowledge, not only in wrestling but in also fitness as well, which is a very important part of wrestling, which a lot of people do not take as seriously as they should, and they whip you into frickin' shape at Devon Dudley School.
Yes, I've heard that, and there was one school down there I was really interested in. The Malachi Black school that he has down
Mm-hmm.
there,
Mm-hmm.
the House of Arts, I think he calls
Something
it.
like that. Dark arts, I think, something like that.
Yeah. And it cracks me up because I kicked off the season with one of the coaches, Leo Ryan,
Mm-hmm.
used to be on AW, on NXT, and a bunch of indie promotions around the world.
Yeah. I've definitely heard it's a good school. I know a couple guys that go there and enjoy themselves.
Yeah. What was it like wrestling your first wrestling match?
Oh, it's terrifying. Like, and I grew up doing, acting or theatrical performances throughout high school and a little bit after. So I wasn't a stranger to, performing or public speaking. That wasn't the hard part. The hard part was doing that while also, staying alive, keeping my opponent alive, and just like performing and doing the stuff that we were supposed to do. And there's no better teacher than experience. So just the more you do it, the better you get. But the first time, obviously, you think you definitely think when you start out that you kind of get the hang of it, and then 4 or 5 years in, you definitely realize you don't know a thing. So yeah, when I first started, I definitely thought I knew everything about it, but absolutely not. It was a very eye-opening experience looking back on it.
I will say I was at a WrestleCade and I saw Devon and Bubba's table. That line was crazy.
Oh yeah, of course.
Minus the line for Sting and Ric Flair, that
Yeah,
was
the big
almost
names.
the whole ground level. Just the people waiting in line. My buddy said he waited, I think, 4 hours just to meet Sting.
It sounds about right.
I was like glad I did not waited that line because I went around meeting a bunch of others. So
Yeah, no, unless I think with stuff like that, unless you go there specifically to meet one person, then you're wasting your time waiting for that one person when there's a million other people that you could be meeting and much
yeah.
shorter lines, obviously.
What are your goals for the future in the wrestling industry?
The goal is to make the most money you possibly can. The place to do that, I think, are the two top companies in WWE and AEW, and that's the ultimate goal. And I think that whatever company you end up working for, you got to give your all to it because you never know where you might end up working, as we've seen over the past, or I would almost said 10 years over the past 30 years, because whenever there's a second company, there's always somewhere else to go. So you always give it your best because you never know where you're going to end up, and of course, and you may never end up anywhere else. But and if that's the case, then be grateful for where you're at, but definitely the goal is to be at the one of the top two companies.
Yeah. Can you describe your wrestling persona or character for people that have not seen you wrestle before?
Yes. The grown ass man, Daniel Lacey. I am tired of seeing these 5'4", 130-pound pussy whipped boys that know nothing about how to wrestle or fight in a real world situation. They get into the wrestling industry because they like the frills and they like to fantasize about grabbing other people and, throwing them around and wrestling on the ground. That is not what this business is about. This business is about making money, going from town to town, and making more money, winning more championships. And I'm trying to cleanse the business of those pussy boys that are trying to get in the business, wear their little tights that are skinny fat and have nothing to do with this, or should have nothing to do with this business. And being the grown ass man, I am trying to get rid of all the jokes as well. There are plenty of people that take this business as a joke. I take this business very seriously, and I am trying to make this business a better place for myself and for everyone else, but mostly myself.
Okay. Can you share a memorable moment from your wrestling career?
I over the last year, or I said last year, it's 2025 now. In 2023, I got the opportunity to wrestle multiple former WWE wrestlers and TNA wrestlers and Ring of Honor wrestlers. I wrestled former TNA champion Austin Aries. I wrestled former WWE tag team champion Epico Cologne. I wrestled Bobby Fish. I wrestled Enzo. So wrestling them definitely gave me a different perspective on how people that have been to the top like work and how they do their business, and and the more perspective I think from people that are much better than you is only going to benefit you. So that definitely was an eye-opening experience working with those four guys.
Can you describe the feeling of winning your first championship?
So I think that you need to look at it with a lot of perspective because, of course, in the moment winning the first championship is nice. You get to look at your shiny belt, you get to raise it over your head in front of the crowd. But in perspective, that's not the belt you really want. The belt you really want is on TV every Monday or Wednesday or Friday, and that's the ultimate goal. So I always, even though it's nice to be to represent a company and have that little indie company want you as their poster boy and their centerpiece, in perspective, this is just a stepping stone to get to where you really want to go.
Yeah. How do you handle the mental and emotional aspects of wrestling?
Mental and emotional aspects, I mean, it can be hard depending on who you are because this business is just like I think it's pretty much like Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's a lot of, or like I should say any other business too, because it's one a business to where you have to like brand yourself, but it's also a show business to where you're trying to outperform other people. So a lot of it is about not what you know, it's who you know. And that's the case with a lot of businesses, but it's the exact same for pro wrestling too. So I mean, once you realize how it's run and how everything is in wrestling, then it becomes easier on your mind. You just have to do the task that is gonna get you higher in this business. So, and once you handle that, it's not terrible. It's just hard knowing. It's hard finding people to get to know and choosing who to make friends with and who you're in bed with, pretty much.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna start this segment called Trev Shock. Um, People, if you're new to the show, it is like Stone Cold's podcast where he has a certain amount of questions. You have a certain amount of time to answer. Or if you're in a business meeting, those pop questions. So for mine, you have 50 seconds to answer 6 questions.
All right.
They're pretty easy questions, in my opinion. All right, let me get the timer set up. All right, ready to start this?
Ready.
All right. Favorite pre-show snack?
Pre-show snack, an energy drink.
Pre-show song?
Pre-show song. I don't really listen to music. I just focus and I'm in the moment. I'm ready to go.
Who was your favorite wrestler growing up?
AJ Styles.
AJ Styles. Favorite sports team?
Sports theme, like you like
Team.
enter like entrance song.
Team.
Wait, say
Sports
say
team.
one more time.
Sports team.
Sports. Oh, sports team. Miami
Yeah.
Marlins.
Okay. Favorite color?
Purple.
Favorite type of music?
Rock.
And you beat it with 5 seconds to spare.
Easy peasy.
So you got the new record.
Oh, really?
You beat the other
Well, I
guy.
would have had even more if your computer didn't glitch. I couldn't hear what you said.
Yeah. The other guy got.
I want that time redacted. I want those
Yeah.
2 seconds redacted.
Let's see. Where's the next question? Okay. Here. What are your biggest challenges of being a professional wrestler outside of the ring?
Outside of the ring is fitness because like I said before, like the people that you can tell the people that take this business seriously because they take their look seriously, and like looks are everything because we've seen people become mega stars in professional wrestling that look amazing, but maybe they're not the best on camera in the ring. And there are too many people these days that get into the business because it's fun. They like to do the fun moves, but they don't take the looks of this business seriously. So fitness is a massive part of it, and I take fitness very seriously. And so like that and like that is what I think is going to get you noticed more, like at least it's going to get you in the door before anything else is like, oh, he looks good, he must take this seriously. So that's what I take seriously because I'm a personal trainer for my actual job. So like yeah, it's not only what I do outside of here that I take seriously, it's my job too that I take seriously. So fitness is a massive part of it.
How do you handle, I mean, how do you feel about the business side of wrestling and promoting the storylines?
So I think that's the most important thing is promoting storylines because I think that's what sells way more tickets because you can have like a little show anywhere else and have wrestler A versus wrestler B and some people might come, but like what's going to keep that person coming back? It's not going to be wrestler A versus wrestler C and wrestler B versus wrestler D. It's going to be the story between them, and that's what is going to motivate that person to part with their hard-earned money to see them wrestle more. So promoting storylines is definitely something that's missing on the indies and obviously is a mainstay on television. So I think if more indie promotions got with that and promoted more storylines, we'd have more people in the crowd, more tickets sold, more money made.
If you could wrestle any legendary wrestler from the past, who would it be and why?
Probably Shawn Michaels, just because everyone says he's such a good performer, and I think that he's an all arounder, and I would venture to say I'm more like that too. I'm not too much of anything. I'm not too much of a ground technician. I'm not too much of a high flyer. I'm much more of a performer in all aspects. So I think that'd be a good pairing because styles make fights, and I think that we wrestle a similar-ish style.
If you could attend a wrestling training session with any wrestler, who would you pick?
Jim Cornette.
Jim Cornette?
He's not a wrestler, but he's one of the best minds in the history of wrestling. And people like I always hate when people say Cornette's so out of touch. He may be out of touch as far as pop culture, but I think as far as what grassroots wrestling
Yeah.
should be with fundamentals and psychology, there's no one better.
If you could have a wrestling legend as your mentor, who would you choose?
Hogan.
Hogan?
Hogan, because I think a lot of people, give flack on Hogan for one reason or another. We don't have to delve into that, but Hulk Hogan knew how to make Hulk Hogan money. Hulk Hogan Hulk Hogan put Hulk Hogan first, and he put his family first, and he know how to make his money. And I think that's a very valuable asset that he could teach me, hopefully.
So I also do a segment called the Shock Universe. So it's
Hmm.
WWE 2K24 WWE Universe mode.
Okay.
So it's like your Monday Night Raws or SmackDown.
Okay.
We have a world, a tag, a mid card, or a cruiserweight. Which title would you go for?
World title, of course.
I think you're the
Anyone that says they don't want to be the world champion shouldn't be in the business anyway. That's been a long time saying, and I think it rings true still today.
I know I've heard people like they'll tell me like they want to work their way up, like start down at the mid card or a tag, and then build that momentum. I was like, that works. It sounds
Sure, it
cool.
works. It's going to take you longer to make more money.
Yeah. What is your opinion on the wrestling crossover events with other sports and entertainment industries?
So I've always thought of wrestling as the redheaded stepchild of both sports and the entertainment world. It's like it's in the middle of both of those,
Yeah.
and it's like I said, the redheaded stepchild. So I think if you cross over the sports into wrestling and then the entertainment into wrestling, it's just going to bring more eyeballs from both of those much
Yeah.
bigger enterprises on wrestling. I think that's only a good thing.
Just like how WWE just got Netflix.
Absolutely, yeah. With WWE and you saw like the celebrities there, it was Vanessa Hudgens there, Macaulay Culkin, all those people, and I think with their following on social media or whatever, I think just more eyeballs on them at our wrestling events is just going to be nothing but great things for wrestling.
Yeah. What advice would you give to an aspiring wrestler?
You can always learn how to be better in the ring. You can learn that at any time, but your body has an expiration date. So make sure your body is where it needs to be physically in order to perform wrestling as best as you can for the longest time you can. I've told a couple people this that are younger, that are still like 18, 19. And they're like a buck 50. They're like 150 pounds soaking wet. I told them, it's like, how old are you? 19. Okay, eat as much as you can until you throw up, and then eat some more until you get to, a good enough weight, and you pack on as much weight and muscle as you can, then cut down. I don't care if you look like crap at 21, you can still cut that down as long as you're beefy, because that's what's going to get you looked at is do you take this business seriously? All right, let me see how you look.
Yeah. Can you talk about a significant rivalry you had and how it helped you grow as a wrestler?
So I would say this past year I had a rivalry in Claremont, Florida, with a wrestler known who's called Big Boy Patty, and I've had a couple rivalries over the past couple years, but I liked this one because everyone else that I've sort of wrestled with, they've been in the business around the same time or longer than I have, so it's sort of been like a 50-50, exchange of ideas. But with Big Boy Patty, he's very, very new in this business. He only had a couple matches under his belt when he first came to me, and we wrestled. And I pretty much, laid out everything that was going to happen. And it was a good match. I think he has a lot of potential. And I immediately went to the booker of that show and I said, "Give me him again, and we're going to tell a story and we're going to wrestle more," because I wanted one to teach him how to tell a story and the story we were going to tell, but also I wanted to just help develop him more in the ring, help, get his mind right as far as what makes sense, when it makes sense to do it, and how you should do it. And so that was fulfilling to me because it felt like I was helping teach him a little bit. And I'm not saying he needed, tons of guidance. He has a great trainer. I know his trainer, but as far as like, actually working shows, I was one of the first people to like hold his hand and be like, "This is why we do these things." And that was fulfilling for me.
What was it like working with a particular wrestler that you really clicked with in the ring?
So a wrestler that I really click with in the ring, his name is Coach Robert Cologne. We've wrestled countless times. We're about to wrestle again in a couple weeks. And every single time we work together, it's so easy. We can tell a completely different story, but we know each other so well that it's so easy to work with him. And yeah, that's really nothing to it. Like I never understood that when it was like stories told to me before about like, oh, this was like a magic, match or whatever. And but no, I get it now because we've worked so many times and we know each other so well that it's the easiest thing whenever we tie up again. And that's nice to have too, because a lot of times you go to a show and you're booked to wrestle a guy that you've never heard of, never seen before, and you don't know how he's going to be, but it's comforting to know that you're going to wrestle somebody that you know very well and that is very capable.
Can you describe your training process and what was your most challenging part of learning to wrestle?
So I think the most challenging part of learning to wrestle wasn't even the wrestling part. The wrestling part, I think, is kind of like school curriculum. You learn more as you go, and there's guys and like the best and smartest people in the business will still tell you that have been in the business for 40 years. They'll tell you, "Oh, I'm still learning something new every day." More perspectives and more ideas being thrown out help me learn more. So I think that is just an ongoing process as learning wrestling. But I think the hardest thing is, like I said before, just the physical fitness of it all. And being in shape and being in ring shape are two very, very different things. I've seen guys that could win Mr. Olympia and they can't even go 2 minutes of a cardio drill. And the flip side of that is I've seen kids that are a buck 40, no muscle, and guys that are close to 300 pounds of 40% body fat, they're still running around doing their thing because they're in ring shape. So fitness is, like I said, one of the most important things, because you've seen WrestleMania, you've seen Shawn versus Brett. I assume they went an hour. Going an hour is not an easy thing to do. So so that is the hardest thing, is being in shape and maintaining that.
All right. So, what brings you joy outside of the wrestling world?
Joy outside of the wrestling world, my faith in Jesus Christ. He's my Lord, my Savior. I love him so much. But also just like my friends and my friends and everything, my friends at work. I love my job. I love working out. I love baseball. So I'm very sad right now because baseball's over with for the time being until March. So yeah, it's just find the little things that make you happy in life,
Yeah.
and just find the things to motivate you to keep pursuing your dreams.
I'm guessing you're a Marlins fan.
Yes,
How are you handling with the new location that they're doing for the season?
that's the Rays.
Yeah.
That's the Rays that are doing that in Tampa. No, the Marlins are in Miami. We're in our
Yeah.
nice, cozy ballpark, and I like it.
It gives me mixed views, but I remember meeting one of the players for the Marlins, uh, Jake Berger.
Oh yeah,
He
I miss Berger.
played for the
We just traded him too to Texas, so I'm gonna miss him because I like Jake Berger.
he played for the AAA team of the White Sox,
He played
Charlotte,
all the White Sox. Yeah,
and it cracks me up because every time he got a home run, they said, "Oh, it's Burger time," and
yeah,
I was like, you guys even gave him his own special burger because his last name was
absolutely,
Burger. But I was like,
absolutely.
whatever sells. What is your favorite gear that you have ever had made?
So I have three pairs of gear that I cycle through: purple gear, black gear, and white gear. And as much as I think black is an overused color these days. My black gear I just think is so clean. It's got the red and the blue and the black stripe on it. And I just think it looks really clean. And all my gear is inspired by um, the Midnight Express because the Midnight Express is my favorite tag team of all time. And like I said earlier, I said Jim Cornette I'd love to have as a
Yeah.
mentor. So yeah, all my gear is inspired by them. You'll see with the stripes on it like the Midnight Express had.
And then where can I find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at the Daniel Lacey. You should be able to look up my YouTube just by looking up Daniel Lacey Wrestling. Same with Facebook, Daniel Lacey. Find me there, follow me, engage with me, like my photos, watch my matches, support me in any way you can.
And then, guys, this is his Instagram. So if you guys are wondering what it looks like,
The grown ass man.
yep.
I go by the grown ass man, the modern day classic, professional wrestling's silver lining, whatever you'd like to call me.
Thank you, Daniel, for being on Tell to Trevor. And then, people, I'm doing a t-shirt contest where you can win a t-shirt out of 5 designs. Wrestlers that have been on the show are more than welcome to enter in it
Buy my shirt.
on Pro Wrestle Tees.
Pro Wrestling Tees / Daniel Lacey.
Yep, as I'm staring at it right now. Once again, thank you again for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.